everybody. I hope you can find a place. There are some places if you need. A very warm welcome in the big hall of the Goethe-Hanum for this evening lecture. I welcome also all the people who are looking at this lecture with the live stream. This lecture is also part of a series of lectures from the Goethe-Hanum with the title Be the Change. So I welcome also all people online, but I welcome all of you one more time. And we will have a lecture from Tohavin, and afterwards we will have a panel session with the conversation. And I'm very happy that To accepted to come to us. And it's interesting because as I asked him, he said, yeah, but why do you want to invite me? I'm not a farmer. Okay. And then I said, but exactly because you are not a farmer, it's also interesting. We shouldn't stay only under farmers. And, but there are more reasons for this. And we are just now, maybe more than before in these times, living in one can say a crisis situation. I don't want to describe all different crises we have, but yeah, we can see everywhere in the world conflicts, separation, people don't understand each other. Even with nature, we have such a big conflict. We are in war with nature, we are at war between the people and so on. So, and this is always a question, how can we do something? Should we only work outside? Or is not also an inner aspect of this? Is not what we see in the world actually a mirror what is inside of us? And if there are so many conflicts in the world, maybe we have also to look at our inner conflicts, at our inner situation. And yeah, To, in his biography, I won't say everything what he did because it's long, but I want to take some aspects. He worked, as I know him, always with people who were weak in the society, so to say, were not at the best place. So he worked a long time with people with special needs, also as a trainer. Then he worked for the Red Cross, so in crisis situations in regions in the world. So it's really huge weakness of the people who have big health problems and wounded and so on. And then he also afterwards went to Bhutan, and maybe out of these experiences to say how can we look a little bit with another way at the situation of the people and create something, help to create a better life quality at all. And then he was the director of the Gross National Happiness Index. And then one can say happiness, it's in such a crazy time, happiness. Do we have time for happiness? Yeah, really? Yeah. We'll see. And then he's also connected to the work of the biodynamic movement because since a long time he's also leading with his wife initiative in Vietnam for children and young people with special needs, and also connected to organic and biodynamic farming. So I think he has a lot to share. And then I wish you a very good lecture, and afterwards we will have a panel with the 3 colleagues, and 1 colleague is not written. It's my colleague Sarah Sommer, but she will also come to us. Thank you very much, To, and please have a good lecture. Merci.
So, as Jean-Michel just said, when I was invited to give this talk tonight, I was, I was sort of happy to do it, a little bit puzzled. But then when I told that to my wife, she was completely puzzled. Because she said, hey, you can't even take care of our garden. And you go tell the people how to do biodynamic farming. Doesn't seem very, consequent. So, I have to admit. And then, when I was down in the bookshop, a lady came up to me and said, are you really going to speak for 2 hours? And she looked really worried. And don't worry, no, I won't be speaking for 2 hours. I will be speaking for 45, maximum 50 minutes. So, rest assured. So it's already been a long day, very full, very intense, amazing contributions, a lot of discussion when one walks around, one sees people in really deep conversation, lots of heartful meetings and so on. Some people have come from far. I guess some of you are quite tired, so it's challenging now to offer a lecture at that time of the day. And I thought I would like to start with a little mindfulness exercise. Because as farmers, you know the importance of the field. But the field is not only the physical field of soil, it's also the social field. Not good enough?
You lost. So
now. Is it better? Do you hear me in the back? So you didn't hear until now? I'll start again. So my wife said, no, okay. I won't do that. Okay, so I thought we'd start with a little exercise because, as I said, as farmers, you are all aware of the importance of the field, and the field can be seen in different levels. So, of course, there's the field, the physical field, the soil, the earth, and walking the field is part of what you do, just connecting with the field. But then there's also the social field that we are trying to create together during these days. And I would like to sort of help us to make this social field more fertile. And then there's another level of field, which is, you could call it attentional field. So a field of awareness. So bringing our awareness together so that we create a field of listening and sharing where we can That's what I mean. We live in a world where our attention is distracted, especially by phones and screens. So once you have turned off your phones, we could start with a little exercise so that we bring our attention together and try to create a common field where, out of which I can try to share and out of which I hope you can not only listen, but really inwardly participate. And then you will see that the little exercise that I want to do with you has really also to do with the content of what I want to share this evening, because it's about the threefold humanity. And I believe that understanding the threefoldness of humankind, of human beings, is the foundation to understanding the true mission of agriculture. But we'll get to that later. So I've brought a bell with me. In our tradition, we call that a mindfulness bell. So I would like to invite us to find a comfortable position where we are really grounded so that we feel that we are sitting not only on the chair, not only on the floor, but really we're actually sitting on the earth, right? Below all that is Mother Earth, and we are sitting on the earth, and we feel that we are grounded, we are upright, relaxed, and fully present. And I will invite the bell, and I would like to invite you to follow the sound of the bell until it merges with stillness. And then I will guide with a few sentences a little exercise. Let us bring our attention back to our body. Feeling the points of contacts of the body with the chair, with the floor, the gravity that holds us on the earth. And trying to sense the earth underneath, and the deep connection that holds us on this earth with our body. And now let's feel the upright that goes through our spine, to our head, and above our head, we have the ceiling above us with the beautiful paintings, and above the ceiling we have the vastness of the sky with stars and planets. And our head is somehow the mirror of the vastness of the sky. And here we are as human beings between heaven and earth. And with each in-breath, each out-breath, with each heartbeat, we are connecting heaven and earth. In our heart. And as each one of us does it for himself or herself, we're aware that we are also doing it collectively. And not only with the 100 or 900 or 1,000 people who are here, also those online, but with all the people that make it possible for us to be here, that we left behind in our farms, in our houses. So this community of 1,000 is actually like just a representative of a vast community. And in the end, of the community of humankind. Because each one of us and all of us collectively have this task as human beings to connect heaven and earth in our own heart. Thank you for joining in this little exercise to try to create this common space. And I think it's very significant that a couple of pictures came up for me. One is that we are now celebrating the 100 years of the foundation of the biodynamic movement, biodynamic agriculture. And just recently was the 100 years of the foundation of the Anthroposophical Society, with the revelation, if I may say so, of the foundation stone meditation, which is really like in a nutshell or in a seed, the expression of this threefoldness of the human being in its connection with the threefoldness of the whole cosmos, which I believe is the very foundation of agriculture. That's one side. The other side is, right now, in the past days, I'm sure those of you who are in Europe are aware of it, farmers were protesting all over Europe, sharing their suffering. And I thought it was very significant that we are trying to rethink agriculture at a moment where farmers are suffering tremendously and are trying to voice their suffering. And I was really moved by it and so disappointed by the kind of answers that they were given. Okay, we'll give you a little bit more money. Okay, we'll take a few regulations away. Okay, we'll diminish the price of your petrol or something for your machines, as if that was the problem. And I thought it was very interesting. I came from western part of Switzerland, and I don't know if they did it here too. In the western part of Switzerland, many farmers they went, in the entry of each village there is a sign with the name of the village. So they unscrewed the sign and put it upside down, and then they hanged boots, rubber boots, there. And I thought it was a very powerful imagination. Our world is upside down when it comes to agriculture. Doesn't get it at all. And the boots that are really like the symbol of, the farmer connecting with the earth, they are left hanging in the air. No more connection with the earth. So I was really touched when I saw that, and it motivated me very much to come to here. Not with farmers' boots, and to try to humbly contribute. And I really felt that this suffering that so many farmers are manifesting, but it's not only in Europe. There were huge protests in many countries around the world. They are just symptoms, but did we make the effort to look at the root causes behind the symptoms? And it really awakened in me the experience that I've had in many different contexts that, for instance, in the field of education, so many teachers are desperate. All the teachers start their profession with a strong ideal, and after a few years, many of them really are desperate. What am I doing there? I met many people in the field of healthcare, doctors, nurses. Same thing. They start with so much, compassion and a will to heal, and then the system breaks that. And the same with farmers. Right? And what is this system that breaks that? So one aspect that is very powerful is, limiting these very profoundly human aspiration to transform, to heal, to feed, to teach, into merely economic activities. The only purpose is to make more profit at any cost, at any human cost, and at any ecological cost. Just increase the profits. That's the only thing that seems to be, in the center. So as Jean-Michel mentioned, I used to work for the International Committee of the Red Cross, which is the part of the Red Cross movements that works in the war zones. And working in war zones, you know, of course, what we do as humanitarian workers in war zones is very meaningful and important, because we are trying to alleviate suffering of people who are in the worst possible situation, refugee camps and, you know, wounded and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, I really felt it's, as an image, if you want, is as if we were trying to take people out of the river that has fallen in the river, right? Which is, of course, the right thing to do, if you can. But I was really asking myself, isn't it possible to go upstream and try to create conditions so that the people don't fall in the river in the first place, or less people fall in the river in the first place? And that's where, you know, I transitioned from working in the field of humanitarian work in war zones to trying to contribute to changing the development paradigm, from a paradigm that is completely focused on profit maximization, economic growth at any cost, and so on, to a development paradigm that is focused on the common good, on happiness for all people, well-being for all life forms. So that was really the aspiration that led me to go to Bhutan, as Jean-Michel explained. And what was behind it was the perception that actually I tried to understand the causes of this suffering that now farmers are expressing, that we see healthcare working expressing, teachers expressing, and so on. And to say, okay, how could we mitigate that? How could we transform it so that we can use you know, we cannot completely alleviate all suffering, but we can try to transform suffering so that it becomes a source of energy that leads us towards the good, towards the common good. And I would like now to move more directly into what I believe is the root cause in the field of farming, and it's very similar in the field of education or health and other fields. It is that the actual mission is lost, right? And that's why when farmers are telling we're suffering, the answers that we give, not we, but governments, or, you know, don't address the root causes. Of course, it's good if the farmers have a bit more income, but will it change really fundamentally the problem? That, you know, Uli spoke about the dignity of farming. So we have to restore the dignity of farming. And what is the dignity of farming? The dignity of farming has to do with really feeling what are the deeper missions of agriculture. And I believe that the deeper mission of agriculture is a threefold one. That's why I started with a little exercise on the threefoldness. First of all, obviously, agriculture has the mission to feed the world. But feeding happens at different levels. Yeah. The physical food is just one dimension of feeding. As human beings, no, not only as human beings, as beings, all beings need to be fed. But humans cannot live from bread alone, as it was already written in the Bible. We cannot live from bread alone, but we need bread. So the first dimension of farming is about our connection with the earth. It's about transforming the earth, right? It's a will force. So agriculture is about mobilizing the will so that this will can transform the earth. And I was very moved and really enthused by the panel we had this afternoon. And I'm not bringing anything new, really. Everything was said already. So, for instance, our sister from Egypt said, yeah, it's the love that we give to the earth that comes back to us as healthy food, right? It's very powerful, very beautiful. Our sister from South Africa spoke about, you know, this indigenous wisdom of knowing this deep connection between human and earth and all living beings. And so it's there. We don't have to reinvent it, but we have to bring in it such a way that it fits to the needs of our time. So the first task, the first mission of agriculture is about transformation. Right? So agriculture is not just nature as it was, not just the given, but what is the task of humankind to transform the earth? Yeah? To make it something more noble, more spiritual, more transparent, so that the spirit can penetrate the earth. And so that's really the first dimension. And in the Foundation Stone meditation, Rolf Steiner gives 3 exercises. So this inner transformation is not it's not like a vague thing. It's something that we have very precise exercises how to do that. And for the first, Rolf Steiner says, Über Geist erinnern in Seelentiefen. That's German. Über Geist erinnern in Seelentiefen. So practice remembering the spirit in the depth of the soul. What is the depth of the soul? It's the will, right? So when we work with our limbs, when we plow the earth, when we transform the earth, we are doing something that is apparently very material, we're working with the physical dimension. But can we remember the spirit when we are working in the depth of the earth, so that our action is actually a transformation process? So when we speak about transformation in food, because a lot of food is about transformation, right? It's not just the outer transformation. It's really kind of the spiritualization of matter, so that it becomes real food that feeds not only the physical body. So the first mission is about transformation. And to give you an example, we can see that with the development of the child. When a child is born, they receive a physical body that is given by heredity, by ancestors. And the whole thing of development of the child is how does the child transform this given body to make it a vessel for her own spirit, for its unique individuality. It's not a given. It's not that the body that we receive is ready-made. We just have to put it on like a clothes. We have to transform it. The whole of the child development is this process of gradually taking hold and transforming this body so that this body can become, as much as possible, a vessel for the unique individuality of this specific child. That's what each of us does individually. And collectively, as a humankind, we do that for the earth. And that's a major part of what agriculture is about. Transforming the body of the earth so that it can become a vessel for the spirit. And not just matter and physical, and chemical and so on, but really a vessel. So that's the first extremely noble, profound task, mission of agriculture, is transformation. So when we continue looking at another dimension of agriculture, agriculture is about healing. You see, when we look at the mythologies, the traditions, spiritual traditions of the world, we see that in all the cultures, we have this kind of imagination of a god or godlike figure that gave agriculture to humankind. We didn't invent agriculture. It was the foundation were given to us by divine or semi-divine beings, right? Initiates, masters, whatever you want to call them. And interestingly enough, in almost all traditions, the god or the being that brings agriculture is also connected with healing. So for instance, in the Chinese, Vietnamese tradition, yeah, what is called the divine farmer, who is like at the origin of agriculture, is also the one who gave traditional medicine. Why? Because it's the knowledge of the plants and the knowledge how the plants work, how they can heal. So there, in agriculture, there's a healing dimension. Also in the mythology, it's very interesting that, like Demeter, the goddess Demeter, who was the goddess of agriculture, she's the daughter of Kronos. So there's two beings in the Greek mythology, Kronos, who's like the embodiment of time, but in quite an abstract way, and then Kronos, who's a Titan and the father of Demeter, and Kronos was eating his children as they were born. Yeah? He ate his children. And I think and he's also connected with time, but more with not the abstract notion of time, but more the cyclical aspect of time, Kronos. And so, you see, in humankind, what agriculture brought was giving meaning to time. See what I mean? As a farmer, for you, time is not just a clock. It's the seasons, the cycle of nature. Time becomes a rhythm, and rhythm is healing. Time without rhythm is destructive. That's why Kronos is eating his children, because it's just when time passes by, people die. But time, when time becomes rhythm, rhythm gives meaning to time and has a healing power. And that's the second verse in the Foundation Stone meditation, which is about rhythm, the healing power of rhythm. Right? So it has to do with the soul, with the heart. So the first one has to do with the body, its transformation. The second mission has to do with the soul, with the heart, with the healing. Agriculture is a healing art, an art, artistic, an art of healing the earth and healing the people. And we know, like really healthy food is a medicine. It's healing. It has a healing power. That's the one dimension. And the exercise that Rose Steiner suggests is Übe Geist besinnen im Seelengleichgewichte. Übe Geist besinnen im Seelengleichgewichte. Practice, there are many different translations. I made my own, which is practice mindfulness of the spirit in the equanimity of the soul. Practice mindfulness of the spirit. The first one is remembering the spirit when we are in the depth of the will. The second one is practicing balance. It's a transformation of our natural emotions into something that is balanced, that is in harmony with the rhythm of the cosmos. And this brings about healing and allows us to be mindful of the presence of the spirit in the soul. And what is the impact of that? It's community building. Right? This builds community. And we all know, farms are communities. Farm is an organism, is a community building power. And we heard many beautiful examples of that, like for instance, the friend from Canada, from Quebec, who shared, how her farm, okay, it produces vegetables, yes, but more than that, it produces community building, right? And so for the first dimension, with bringing the spirit into the earth, it's a vertical dimension that comes from heaven and goes into the depths of the earth. The second dimension is a horizontal dimension. And there Steiner says something really interesting. He says, Lass durch den Osten befeuern, was in dem Westen sich formet oder sich gestaltet. These two forms. So let the East inflame what has been formed in the West. And when I listened to the friends this afternoon, I thought, this is what is happening now. Now, I brought something to you. This bag is full of Vietnamese organic rice. And this bag is full of Demeter wheat. So, East and West, rice and wheat. And now the question is not, is one better or superior or no, but these are the two fundamental food staples of humankind. Right? These are the two main sources of nutrition of humankind, rice and wheat. Right? And if we can see that rice and wheat are brothers, right? And if we can see that what the West has to bring to the world, what the East has to bring to the world, can complement each other, the fire of the East enthusing the form capacity of the West, it would be a significant contribution to world peace. Because we've been living in dualities, either or, right? Those who are different are our enemies, or they're inferior, or whatever. But rice and wheat, they are not competing. They are just, and there's of course some rice growing in Europe, like in Camargue or in Italy, and there's some wheat growing in Asia, like in northern China and so on. Yeah? But fundamentally, these are the two big cultures of the world, the rice culture and the wheat culture, moon-related, sun-related. And we need both. We need the sun and the moon. So this healing force of the heart, the healing force of the heart lives in rhythm, lives in the balance of the soul that enables us to be mindful of the reality of the Spirit, of the presence of the Spirit, and lives in the complementarity, in the community building force when these apparently polar forces can work together. So this is for me the second fundamental task of agriculture. It's healing. The first one is transforming. The second one is healing. And the healing is community building. Right? And it was amazing when the sister from Egypt spoke about, economy of love. So this is about healing. Yeah, this is about bringing into economy, which for the time being, most of the time is a destructive force in our world, the heart power of love that transforms it into something that is healing for humankind. And really the time has come where we have to become aware that we are 1 billion strong family, one family. That we become aware of our mutual interdependence, which is not a negative dependence, but a joyfully accepted mutually interdependence. We inter-are. And the sister from South Africa spoke about Ubuntu saying, I am because you are. But you is the 8 billion of us. It's not just, right? So this healing force of the heart. And I believe that the agricultural communities, farms, have the power to be like seeds, right? Like oases of fraternity, of community, of inclusion. So healing is about inclusion, and it has to start within. Can we include, can we really, our whole being? So it's an inclusion process. And the third step is then about how do we connect directly with the Spirit? And there, in the Foundation Stone Meditation, Rudolf Steiner says, übe Geist erschauen in Gedankenruhe. Übe Geist erschauen in Gedankenruhe. So practice contemplating, seeing, perceiving the spirit in the stillness of the thoughts. So, you know, when the intellect, when the inner noise quiets down and an inner stillness arises, then we can see, we can perceive directly the spirit. And that's about awakening. And Dieter beautifully spoke today about awakening as one of the, you know, life-changing forces. And I believe that's the third mission of agriculture, to help us to awaken, to the reality of the spirit. So if we see, you know, the mission of agriculture as part of the mission of humankind that has these three fundamental functions: to transform matter, to heal on the soul level, and to awaken at the spiritual level, then we really perceive the dignity of agriculture, which is the dignity of being human. Right? This is what being human is about. And so the last movement is a movement that is like a prayer that is rising from the earth towards the sky. So the first movement, we have a movement from the sky, from the spirit, enlightening, transforming the matter. The second, we have this horizontal movement, where in the balance of our transformed emotions, we can perceive this, or contemplate, be mindful of the spirit. And the third one is awakening to our true being, to our authentic being. And so, going back to the beginning, what is the source of suffering? The source of suffering is, first of all, in the modern times, or in the materialistic culture, we have lost the connection to our own spiritual being, to our own true self. This is the deepest root cause of suffering, because we don't know who we are. We cannot connect to our true being. If we can't connect to our true being, we cannot perceive the true being of others, right? And so that's the second source of suffering, that we are isolated, disconnected. And that's a big source of suffering. People are alone, feel, Dieter also mentioned that, Einsamkeit. Yeah? We feel alone, we feel disconnected. But we cannot truly connect with others if we cannot connect with our own true being. And the third source of suffering is we are disconnected from our planet, which is our mother, which is, you know, without our planet Earth, there's no life possible for us. And so that's the third disconnection, that's the third healing process. So if agriculture can really experience deeply that these inner and outer processes are one, right? So if, as individuals, we can connect to our true being, then we can truly connect to others, and then we can truly transform the world, the earth. And so I think that, and I will conclude with that, actually these is a specific manifestation in agriculture of our overall mission, if I may say so, as humankind. These three dimensions of transforming, healing, and awakening, this is our mission as humankind. And now the question is, how can you, in your specific profession, your specific vocation as farmers, seize these three fundamental tasks of transforming, healing, and awakening, so that it can really contribute to the evolution, to the development of humankind. And to end, I would like to, really acknowledge that we are not alone. We are not alone. We are carried by the generations and generations of our ancestors who did their best, and we have to continue that. And we are responsible for generation and generation of our children and grandchildren. And I'm a great-grandfather, very proud of it. So I feel really concerned about the future. Right? So I want my children, my grandchildren, and my great-granddaughter and their children to have a good earth to live on. And I think agriculture has a very important role to play in that. And then there's not only the blood ancestors, the genetic, there are our spiritual ancestors. Right? And our sisters from Egypt mentioned, Rudolf Steiner and Dr. Abulay, they're maybe together in heaven. I'm sure they are. And many others. And what I really find fantastic in this meeting, that we see, for a long, when I first came in Dornach in 1970, so it was almost only German speaking. French were already very exotic. Forget about Asians or Africans or whatever, Like, as exotic as we would get would be like French or Italian. That was super exotic, right? Somebody like me was like, who's that? Anyway, and we have moved a lot forward. Yeah? And I think that if we manage to really recognize that, if we can bring in this manifoldness of spiritual heritages that we're already present here. We heard about indigenous wisdom. We heard our brother from Thailand saying we have to connect to the beliefs that these people have, and so on. So can we develop a biodynamic movement that is really, truly universally human, so that we can benefit, that we can really be carried both by the genetic ancestors for the well-being of the future generation, but also by the many invisible beings, the many spiritual traditions that are all waiting for us to give our contribution, so that we can, even if humbly, even if modestly, make the right contribution for the development, for the evolution of humankind towards transformation, healing, and awakening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we had this wonderful lecture, and it's good that there is some time to reflect a little bit. This time I present our guest or our friends. Chi King is working as gardener. She's very keen of biodynamic farming, but she is also really working in art. I knew her mostly through the screen in some courses. And every time, if there was an exercise to do with art, we got a wonderful picture from her to look at the screen, because it was online course. So she's really bringing gardening and art together to help in community building. And I think it fits really to what To said, to bring these two qualities together. Liron is a teacher, a trainer, an advisor. I would say he's in Israel somebody who is really trying to develop biodynamic farming in every way, because he's also a researcher. He's also, we see him every time something is happening. I think there are 2 or 3 ones, because he's really taking part at so many projects in his country, but also everywhere in the biodynamic network. And I think he could develop really a wonderful work with, he founded the Adamahaya, living soil. That means living soil in Hebrew, the center to support the development of biodynamic agriculture. And now with a very difficult situation they have in this region of the world since 7th of October, he's increasing the work with the farmers, agricultural, with the communities of farmers. Maybe we could share a little bit with him about this situation because it's really full in the topic. And Sarah Sommer is my colleague in the section, and she makes a wonderful work to organize a lot of trainings online and also here. Yesterday she organized also a wonderful meeting of all different professional groups. We had a wonderful evening also. Next year you have to come if you have a next evening like that. And I discovered as I asked her to be part of the panel that she followed since some time the work of Tho, and she's also very interested in it. And maybe she will ask or tell more about this. Yeah, and now I wanted to ask you three how it resonates for you. And Tho gave us actually even a question, or threefold question. He said, how can the farmers work with these three tasks? You remember, transformation, healing, and awakening. And so I begin with Sarah, is it okay? No, with Liron. As you wish. Yeah, is it?
I think I wouldn't be able to say it better. So thank you, first of all. Really said wonderfully. But knowing that you've been in war zone, I still think or feel that there's one dimension of your good analysis missing. What is the role of the wars? War. Oh, in a sense, because you tried to come to this picture of what is the role of the farmer, but in a sense to better understand how these qualities are meeting conflicts, I think a question of mine would be, can we see it better? Can we see better with your perspective? What is the role? I mean, I've been coming now from that. I can share my perspective on it, but I would really love to hear as well from you. What would you say more about what is the role, the mission coming from this quality?
Shall I answer now, or shall we?
Or maybe you prefer we make a round? And
yeah,
then
maybe.
you make an
I've
answer?
spoke a lot.
Yeah,
make a round and see.
Yeah. So we want? King?
Yeah. Okay. I think I would like to share what touches me first. I'm touched by this invitation of inner peace, especially at this point of celebrating 100 years. It's like a pause, a little invitation. Yeah.
Like ice cream. Right. It's like an ice cream.
So does it mean what I said just now you did not hear at all?
Yeah, better.
Yeah. I was moved by this invitation of this inner peace. Yeah. Instead of focusing on fighting on the challenges or suffering, to invite us to look at crisis or challenges or suffering with happiness, like polarities that bring new growth. Yeah, bring new, as a new source of energy, awakening, transforming, and healing. So yeah, so I feel lots of strength, yeah, and beautiful. Thank you.
You will get 2.
Thank you. Yes, I was also puzzled when Jean-Michel asked me to come here because I'm not a farmer at all, and I'm very honored to be here with you on the stage because I heard when I was very young, like 15 or 14, I heard about your work in Bhutan, and it was very interesting for me, so I'm honored. And I really love the picture you made with, or you talked about this building a vessel, or the individual vessel for spirit in the human, and then the other picture, the collective vessel for the earth as our task, or your task as farmer. I really love that, and also I think you somehow you gave strength in talking about all this, about these chances of agriculture in transformation, in healing, and in awakening. But you also talked about the challenges or about the suffering we all feel in the world. So I'm a bit both, and I also hoped more answers than questions from you. Yeah, but thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe you want to.
Sure.
We have.
Yeah. So I think. I'll start with your question because I think it's extremely relevant. So, you know, I come from a Vietnamese background, and Vietnam had 30 years on ongoing war. And actually, no, let me put it that way. In the Buddhist tradition, you know, there are many Buddhas, and each Buddha has a beautiful Buddha land. Like, for instance, the Amitabha Buddha has the Western Paradise, and when you read description of the Pure Land, it's called the Pure Land, then it's so beautiful, harmonious, and you know, like paradise, right? And then somebody asked Gautama Buddha, so the Shakyamuni Buddha, the Buddha, the historic Buddha, how come all the Buddhas, they have this amazing pure lands where there's no suffering and, you know, everything is harmony and beauty, and your land, which is the earth, is like miserable. You know, people suffer and there's fighting, and how come? And the Buddha answered, if there was no suffering, there would be no compassion. And my teacher, my Buddhist teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, wrote during the war a book that was called A Lotus in a Sea of Fire. And he drew a very beautiful calligraphy that says, no mud, no lotus. So war, suffering, in its many forms, war is just one form, there are many forms of suffering, war is an extreme form of suffering, is the mud. So, you know, we have to acknowledge mud exists, but mud plays a role. And the role of mud, if it plays its role, is to teach us compassion. So maybe about that. And so, yeah, and so I really feel that what you said about, you know, this peace of mind is the starting point. Because the war begins within. When it manifests outside, it's been raging within for quite a while. Then it manifests outside. But the beginning of all our problems is within, right? And coming to what you said, you know, when my job at the International Committee of Red Cross was to train humanitarian workers to go to conflict zones. And the challenge remains, how do you manage to keep your heart open to the suffering of the world without being overwhelmed by the suffering of the world? right? So either you close, because it's too much, then you close, and then no more compassion, or you get overwhelmed by it, and it's called empathic distress. And in the field of humanitarian workers, but also, for instance, in a healing profession, doctors, nurses, you see a lot of empathic distress. People get overwhelmed by all the suffering they are taking in. And so this, what Ralph Steiner says in the second verse, über Geist besinnen im Seelengleichgewicht, so this balance of the soul, where we are able to open our heart to the suffering of the world, and yet keep this inner stability, so that we can welcome it without being overwhelmed by it, but that it generates in us energy to try to alleviate suffering. I mean, for me, that was really what brought me, it was the war in Vietnam that brought me to do what I do in life, because, you know, you cannot just ignore it. You have to try to bring something positive. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So you have some more reflection? Yeah, please, Leon.
In our region of war, specifically where things happen right now, there's a big wall that people builded from the outside. I mean, it's our own tax money, so it's my wall as well. But the farmers are literally farming till the fence. Physically, really, till the last crumb from both sides. And so long as there were not a conflict so harsh, they were working together. One of them lives here half an hour away from the Gaza Strip. And what helped me a lot when reading the lectures of Steiner of the source of evil, he actually didn't look at it as mud, but as a flashlight, reminding you where you are disconnecting. And in a sense, where can you reconnect, where you need to meet each other. And I think for myself, hearing what you said now about the true mission of a farmer is, and if you see deeper the meaning or the goal of conflicts, it's really to remind us, yes, we can have something with this lack of how do I react to a crisis. Because I understand that basically my goal is to continue to reconnect, bring connections. And I think having this better light, what happens in a crisis, basically the core for the crisis is separation. And I can be so violent to somebody else if I'm disconnected.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, that's what I was trying to say, you know, if we are disconnected from our true being, then we get disconnected from the true being of others, and then we can demonize them, right? And it doesn't matter where it happens everywhere. It happened in Europe, it happened in Asia, it happened in the Middle East. It's not like a specific group is like that. As human beings, if we get disconnected from our true being, then we cannot really awaken to the true being of others. And that's really the, you know, the core of peace, is recognizing the other one is a human just like me, whatever else separates us.
And from Thich Nhat Hanh, I really like his song saying, I am the murderer, I am the rapist, I am all those who created the suffering. Yeah. That's really the deepest reconnection to understand that it can be in all of us.
Call me by my true names.
Exactly.
Do you have some other question, Shaking, you want to ask? Maybe also another aspect?
Yeah, maybe I just add on a little to this image of two sides of a coin is the same. So if we could carry this image like like I talk about this polarity, and perhaps the change of mind, it's not a year's time. Yeah, so I just felt it's really a question of where do I start? And the moment when I decided to, it could be just a second. Yeah.
In a way to see there is no wall.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, do you want to?
Yeah, I have somehow many questions, but maybe
maybe one.
No, yes, but
last.
so just regarding this aspect in change of mind or inner transformation, when I listen to you now, for me it seems it's the first focus we all should have, the transformation of ourselves, because without that we cannot connect. And we heard this afternoon that it's so difficult to change other people's mind. And it was interesting because sometimes it's really a pity that we cannot, but it's not possible. But also, maybe a question: how can we reach people? Because it's connected what she said today, Feia, that reach people with our mission or this idea or vision of, or to reach them to do this transformation or to get inspired by when this connection or distraction is so huge. Maybe you have an idea?
He has an idea. He has an idea.
In a way, it's with these two colleagues here. I mainly work with whom wants to work with me. You know, there's something really beautiful that I discovered. Don't waste your energy on those who don't want to work and with a different mindset. In a way, by working together like a choir, more people can join it because they see, oh, wow, it's a beautiful song. And it's nice to join. And in a way, I'm really practicing, in a sense, inner, to look at my colleague and say, ah, he's from my family, even if he's so far away. And like that, it saves all this conflict of how do I change and who can else shift a bit, but say, focus those who are with you and move with them. But bring them to work. Don't stay passive and don't find them, but come. That's why you see me everywhere. I say, come, let's do. That's my perspective.
It's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we had a good discussion. It was really to resonate and to look a little bit. I take also from your lecture these three aspects connected to what we want to develop further in the conference. We are, and we will see it also in the Michael letters in the morning, we want really, the question could be, what does it mean, or why do you want to find the spirit? Or why do we want to find the inner, the core of every being, so to say? And you said it in a wonderful way. Huh? We have to find our own spirit, own I, because we are even disconnected from it. Huh? But also, if we do this, we can also reconnect with the I of the others, and even also with the I of the earth, or the spirit of the earth, or we can say it in with different words, in different traditions also. And I think you touched also a very important aspect for us now at the as biodynamic movement, that if we get such big pictures as you brought us, they are we have sometimes this problem with the biodynamic or anthroposophy movement. We have our own words, and we don't see the connections with other traditions. And so I'm very thankful that you brought it on such a way, connecting to anthroposophy and also connecting to other traditions, other spirituality, and we could really experience in your presentation that it's one part of the same and not disconnected. And I think it's also something we have to work on it as biodynamic movement, to make the connections with all the people, all the groups, all traditions who are spiritual movement or whatever, where there are much more similarities than differences. So now, and then it's maybe what I take from me, from your talk. And I will do thank you all for very much for this wonderful conversation. Thank you very much.